What's good, everybody out there on YouTube? This is your boy Shadic. You know, we dropping some hot frog on this mic. This is the second episode of the Shadic Zone months later. I know I wanted to get the second episode out sooner. I'm sorry, just life happened and things got busy. Your boy's mental state hasn't been the best over the past few months. You know, it's just life threw your boy a bone, and he couldn't. he just got eviscerated. I don't know. Your boy got Tatsumaki'd or shoryu'd by life. But we're going to be talking about a few things today in this podcast. Today we're going to be talking about my impressions on Final Fantasy VII Remake, my thoughts about Animal Crossing, because I don't think I'm going to make a review of the new Animal Crossing game. I want to. I might make a pseudo review. I don't know how to really review that game specifically because of the way it is. And on top of that, I don't know. I really enjoyed that game on my own time, and I haven't recorded a ton of gameplay for it. I recorded like 30 minutes of gameplay from one of the play sessions I had, and that's it. So there's not really much I can do in the way of, I guess, making a review on Animal Crossing. But Final Fantasy VII Remake is getting the full review treatment. Like, your boy is going all out. I have like 200 some odd gigs of gameplay recorded for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I am honestly ready to get down and dirty with reviewing that game. Like, Final Fantasy VII Remake has honestly become one of my favorite video games of all time, and that says something about the game. The game is just amazing. I'm also going to be giving my thoughts on Steven Universe Future, because Steven Universe is a series that I really, really do like, and I had been following it since the pilot went up. I was really excited. I remember when I was younger, when I saw, this was back in middle school, I heard about it back in middle school, and I was like really curious, and then I think we got the pilot and stuff released while I was in high school, if I remember correctly. It just looked like it was just one of those things I was always fascinated with, and as the series went on, I feel like it got worse. I'm going to talk from my perspective. The series definitely got worse as it went on, and Steven Universe Future, the epilogue series, and even the movie are a byproduct of what the original series was and what it became, and that said something about the series. We'll also be doing a recent purchases section to replace, the what am I watching section, because I haven't been watching a ton. I'll talk about a few things I've been watching right before we get to the what am I playing section, which it's a few games. I'm going to talk about probably a little bit about FF7R, a little bit about Animal Crossing, but some other games that I was playing before FF7 came out, and before Animal Crossing came out, and during the time I was playing Animal Crossing. Because if you guys don't know, really, Animal Crossing isn't a game that you can just sit through and blitz through unless you do what's called time travel, which I personally think is cheating, but to each their own. It doesn't have a metagame or any type of competitive system really in the game, so I don't really care what you do with your $60 purchase. I still think it's cheating, but that's to each their own. I can't enjoy a life simulation game or life simulator game that I'm cheating in. Like, that's not the point. The point is, so you're supposed to sit there and wait out. It's a game of patience. If I go and play Harvest Moon or even Stardew Valley, you gotta wait, and maybe I don't have to wait as long as Animal Crossing, but will say Animal Crossing's rewards always feel a lot bigger than those games, especially because the wait is usually a lot longer. But let's get into my thoughts and impressions on Final Fantasy VII Remake. The full review will be coming, but I honestly think this might wind up being my favorite Final Fantasy game. Now, before this game came along, that was Final Fantasy III. And Final Fantasy 15, despite a lot of the issues it had, came to being really close up there with Final Fantasy 3, because it's one of the few Final Fantasy games that has made me really feel for the characters, if that makes sense, even despite some of the issues I have with the story. And I will say this game is easily better than the original Final Fantasy VII in every way. First of all, the gameplay is better. The execution of the story is better, though I think there is a little bit of padding. Despite, you know, the little bit of padding in there, more specifically chapter 6, there's only like once or twice where I felt that, and that's mostly because I think they put those as sections in there for you to kind of just grind. I really do think Final Fantasy VII Remake is probably going to be the best game to release this year, and I think it's the second best game we've gotten this generation. The only game that I think is better than Final Fantasy VII Remake from this generation, to be honest, is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that's because I think that's the greatest game of all time. I mean, that's from my perspective. You don't have to agree with me, but I think Breath of the Wild is the greatest video game of all time, and Zelda isn't even my favorite video game series. The Breath of the Wild isn't even my favorite video game. It's not even, I don't even think it's in my top 5 or top 10 favorite video games of all time, but now that I look back and I think about it, but I think it's definitely probably the greatest video game ever created. I don't think there's really a game that's going to touch it for a while. Final Fantasy VII Remake gets close in some aspects, but I don't think it's Breath of the Wild level yet. And then I will say the game does have problems. Like, I told you, like, there's like 2 chapters out of like 20 where it feels like the game is padded. I feel like there's some issues with the camera, and I feel like there's like 1 or 2 issues with the gameplay, but otherwise the pros outweigh the cons so much that they feel like nitpicks. Like, when I say something negative about the game in my review, it's gonna make me cringe because I'm gonna be like, dang, this is a legitimate issue, but the pros and how good the game is just outweigh those issues so much that I don't care when I play the game. Like, when I sit down and play that game, I binge it. It's like sitting down and binging a Netflix series for like 10 hours, but you do that 4 days in a row or something like that. Not really, because I'll play it like for a little bit. I'll play it for a while one day, and then like 2 or 3 days I won't play it. That's why I haven't gotten a review. I haven't finished the game yet. I'm around chapter 15, I think. I'm on chapter 15 or 16. Don't spoil anything in the comment section, please. Don't. If you do, I will ban you from this channel permanently, and I will cry. I don't know when this is going out, so but still, for people who haven't played the game, please don't spoil anything for it. And it's honestly just a must-have from this generation. Like, I think really, like, if you're gonna choose the definitive JRPG from this generation, before this game, I would have said it was maybe Kingdom Hearts 3 or probably Octopath Traveler, but this is definitely Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that's based off of Octopath Traveler's demo. I haven't even played the full game yet, but I would definitely say Final Fantasy VII Remake is the definitive JRPG of this generation, and it will define generations of Final Fantasy games to come. And I think it's got the best thing the series needed, because it's one of the games that's really had the fewest hassles as of recently. Because Final Fantasy 13 came out. Final Fantasy 13 is a bad game. It is the worst the series has to offer, in all honesty. I'd rather play Final Fantasy All of the Bravest. That's how bad I think Final Fantasy 13 is. 13-2 and Lightning Returns redeem the first game, but in some ways, or they redeem that part of the franchise. Let me say that they redeem the Final Fantasy 13 line of games, but even then, they're not the first numbered series. They're not like, oh, I'm gonna remember this game forever. Like, they're good games in their own right, but they're not a Final Fantasy 7, a Final Fantasy 10, a Final Fantasy 9, a Final Fantasy 3, 4, 6, or 12. It doesn't feel like that. Final Fantasy 15 just came out incomplete, because I genuinely think that game is great. It just came out incomplete, and that's really where that game stands. It's just incomplete, or it released incomplete. And it's still technically incomplete because they had a second season or whatever planned, and that was gonna really finish out the story, but they never got around to it. But for the most part, it's a complete game now, but still, when it released, it was incomplete. You could tell that game was not finished, and they didn't have the time to really turn it around and turn it into what I guess Hajime Tabata wanted to be, and what Nomura was expecting from that team to make it become, especially since he left the project a part of the way through to finish Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, since I've talked about FF7 Remake so much, let's talk about Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is the greatest waste of time I have ever experienced in my life. I don't know how to explain that any better than that. Like, a lot of the things in Animal Crossing seem so pointless, but they always build up to something, you know, bigger, or sometimes you're just doing things just to do things. It honestly feels a lot like, I've always felt this way about life sim games, like they're always great time wasters. Like, people like to judge them against other genres of games, and they kind of like take the piss out of them by saying, oh, you're just wasting your time doing things like catching fish and chopping wood. But at the end of the day, no, I don't think another series comes close to. I think the only other series that comes close to Animal Crossing in this regard is like Harvest Moon. And Stardew Valley is a pretty good game. From the like 2 or 3 hours I played, 3 or 4 hours actually I played of it, like I had to restart the game because the game is so complex, like right out the gate, that you just get overwhelmed if you like stop playing. Like, I played it for like 4 hours, and then I came back a week later and I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Like, that game is just, it's a game I have to sit there and like hammer into myself for a few days. Whereas with Animal Crossing, even though things happen in your world, the world degrades and stuff over time a little bit, and it's depending on your playtime across, you know, time, it never feels like when I go back to the game that I, you know, have done something wrong, if that makes sense. And I can always jump back in. I always know what I'm doing. The game at a base level is really simple, and even though like it gets very much more complex as it goes on, it never feels like I'm, I guess, lost. And that's a good thing about Animal Crossing. I think if you have a Nintendo Switch, you should get it. It's honestly my favorite in the series. The last time I played a game in the series was on the Wii, and my favorite game before that was really, I think, the first one or the one on DS. I don't remember which one. I think it was the DS one, because I didn't like how in the first one, like, it switched screens like a ton. That was annoying to me a little bit, as you know, when I was younger. It'll be annoying to me today probably, but I think that's probably I think you need to pick it up if you have a Nintendo Switch. Like, honestly though, I'll say this, I haven't played it in a minute because of FF7R. It's one of the chillest experiences I've had with a game in a while. But I will say, there are a few issues like with the game, and it's not so much as gameplay as so much as Nintendo's approach to online. Because the game's online is so tedious. So when someone joins your world, it stops everything, saves everything, so that takes like a minute and a half. And then on top of that, there's like this 2 or 3 minute cutscene for someone to join your world, or for you to go to someone else's world or island. And it really just makes it makes playing that game online feel so slow and so tedious. And if someone disconnects, God forbid someone disconnects, like, you're going through the process again. It's just really annoying, and it just makes playing that game online not fun, to be honest. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Now, I will say this. I think this game is going to push Switch units like there's no tomorrow, or it's going to continue. It's obviously pushing units now because the world is out of Switches and people are buying $500, $600 Switches from scalpers. So there's obviously a huge market for Switches right now, and nobody can buy them for Animal Crossing. People are resorting to buying Switch Lites. People want to play Animal Crossing on their TV, and they're like, nah, I'll just get a Switch Lite. It's okay. I can still play Animal Crossing. That's all that matters. So if you have a Nintendo Switch, I'd highly advise picking up Animal Crossing New Horizons. So the next thing I want to talk about is Steven Universe Future. Again, I told you I was a big fan of Steven Universe when it first came out, even before it came out with the pilot and stuff. I really loved it. I loved the atmosphere of it. I loved the aesthetic of it. I loved how it felt like a lot of things I loved, and are just like different things I loved packed into one show, and that's why I really liked it. I also say it does a lot of things that are really great that a lot of other cartoons were scared to do, like having same-sex relationships, having a lot more diversity in the cast of characters. And while that's become more of a norm in cartoons nowadays, especially because we have a lot of more people of color working in the industry, it's still like something I feel it gets shied away from. And like, I talked about this with my boy Monocryptic. His link will be in the description if I remember to put it down there, because for the most part I don't have to chop up or edit these, the podcast or whatever. I may have to do that at the beginning because I have a little pause or whatever, but for the most part I don't have to edit these super hard outside of like making sure the quality of the sound sounds really good. But like I'll say this, me and him were talking about this. Steven Universe started out great, and it started out as what it should have been, and it kind of just turned into something. As it tried to take itself more seriously, the quality of the show degraded. And let me elaborate. So before I talk about my thoughts on Steven Universe future, I kind of want to talk about why I think Steven Universe took this massive downturn, and I'll probably have this as a clip highlight on the channel separately from I guess this podcast also. But Steven Universe future is just this byproduct of a series trying to get more serious, but just kind of being a slice of life. Because that's what Steven Universe originally was. It started off as a slice of life. And the thing is, the story kept getting progressively serious. Like, they build up with all this cool lore and stuff. There'll be some combat and stuff in there. But for the most part, it was just a slice of life about this kid named Steven who loved his friends. That's really it. And his mom was some gem or something, and they fought a war. There wasn't anything super deep, I guess, about what the overarching story was till around the end of till the midway of season 2 or something like that. Season 2 is when I remember Steven Universe starting to get serious, and I really liked that about it. Season 3 was the same way, and then something started changing. You saw, first of all, because the show got more serious, the slice of life episodes as a viewer, you kind of had, they needed to be executed differently. First of all, they would have this massive event happen in the original series, like someone would get killed, and the next episode everybody would be, happy and hunky-dory and hugging and stuff, and worrying about, Steven may be worrying about, oh my god, I lost a shoe or something, this galactic being didn't just come and try to kill me or something yesterday, like things like that. It just really ruined the overall tone of the show because of the way they had taken the show, especially when you have a lot of characters like Amethyst, Pearl, and Garnet, who had very serious arcs that was either resolved or would stay unresolved in previous episodes, and then the next episode they're fine. There was always this disconnect with Steven Universe. On top of that, the animation was so inconsistent in quality and just how characters looked. Now, I know a show evolves over time, that's fine. Like, the Dragon Ball series is a great example of this. Naruto is a great example of this. Adventure Time is a great example of this, because the show's art style changed so much. But Adventure Time, while it had its arcs and stuff, it was pretty, like, well, Adventure Time, let me say this. While Adventure Time had its serious arcs and stuff, the show didn't take itself so seriously that I felt like the show needed to consistently look like the same thing. Naruto and Dragon Ball, the reason I bring those up is because those shows look vastly different from the beginning to the end. But at the same time, it was so consistent all the way through, it felt more like an evolution of the art style and an evolution of the animation, or de-evolution in the case, it's Dragon Ball Super. You know what I mean? The show just basically, for the most part, it looked consistent while I was watching it, and while things slowly changed, it wasn't noticeable until you went back and looked at it. You know what I mean? It was one of those situations where your eyes got accustomed to it. In Steven Universe, and people harp on it and they say, people don't understand when a character looks 5 feet in one episode, but they're 5 or 6 feet in another. It's just not okay. It's just not okay. Especially for a series that takes itself so seriously. That's what really upset me. Another thing that you start noticing really is about Steven. Steven is just a perfect suit. Again, me and my boy Monocryptic talked about this. He's a perfect suit. So whenever something would happen, his naivety would be thrown out the window because he's right. No matter what, he's right. And that was one of my biggest issues with the show. And it's only because later in the show, it feels like there's no repercussions for things that happened previously. Like, they can just fix things with a hug. Steven will be like, yo, don't worry about it. You got your friends, and I love you. Henceforth, and nothing you did mattered. And that was my issue running up to the end of the show, especially the ending when Steven and they mix up with the diamonds and stuff. I'm like, this is stupid. Especially going into Steven Universe Future, where they're like, oh, this is, I guess, Steven is dealing with some things, you can tell, and this is the first time where he's getting challenged on his beliefs, specifically by Spinel. And while I think the movie had issues because it retreaded old ground when it didn't need to, especially the arcs of Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst, they didn't need to retread that. It just felt like a lot of wasted time, and the singing got frankly annoying. I will say that it did some good things in that regard. It made Steven think, oh, I might not be right about something. And then Steven Universe Future takes that even further, but the issue with Steven Universe Future is that it makes Steven not feel like Steven anymore, where like he gets flanderized, and at the same time is just, I don't know how to explain it. He gets flanderized. He gets broken down to, oh, I want to help people. That's all I know. Nobody can help me. Henceforth, I have, because of my PTSD. And that's all he gets broken down to. In the first few episodes, he's, for the most part, himself. But that's what he gets broken down to by the end of Steven Universe Future, and I really don't like it. On top of that, like, Steven Universe has always had this issue of being really predictable, and the first thing people thought back when the original series ended was, oh, Pink Steven might be corrupted. And then like literally the diamonds say on the last episode of Steven Universe Future, Steven's corrupted, and I'm like, god dang it, why do you do this? Steven Universe, the original series, you could basically see what was coming to at the end by watching like the first 2 seasons. You'll be like, all right, I already know the ending. This is gonna be some diamonds, and they're gonna fight, and Steven's gonna win, and there's gonna be friendship. That's it. That's my issue with Steven. That's one of my big issues with Steven Universe. But Steven Universe Future, I was like, they could do something great with this. They really can. There might be a hint of something amazing here. And they dropped the ball so hard, because despite those other issues, it was a really enjoyable watch, especially seeing the turmoil that Steven was going through. While there was issues I had with it sometimes, like specifically the Greg episode, the issue he was supposed to have with Greg was, oh, I wanted a normal childhood, and you didn't give that to me. At the same time, like, Greg's reasoning for raising Steven the way he did was logical. He just never challenged Greg on the other things, like, oh, you weren't there to stop me from going into space and basically getting beat up by some space fascists. You know what I mean? Like, literal space fascists. And it's just crazy to me. And then the diamonds are Steven's friends. Like, he loves them now, and they love him. Like, they'll show, a little bit of tension between Steven and White Diamond, but not the other diamonds. Like, come on, man. Like, that's ridiculous. It honestly is ridiculous. And by the time we get to the end, they fix Steven's corruption with a hug. They hug him, and his PTSD is gone. And honestly, I think what happened was the Crewniverse did not play it safe in some regards with the original series. I was glad that they were bold and they took some risk in what they did, but at the same time, I don't think they were smart with their approach to things, because people were pulling funding, I think, probably because some of the episodes, like most notably the marriage episode, they had to change that or not release it in some regions, like that, and that affected their funding. The Cartoon Network, from what I was told by my boy Mono, was like, y'all gotta wrap this up. Y'all's funding is gone now. And because of that, it severely hurt the show, especially the ending, and especially Steven Universe Future, the movie, all of it. It all gets hurt because it feels so rushed, and it feels so lazy, and it feels just so uninspired. It's bad. Like, the Steven Universe Future winds up being bad because there are already issues there. But because of the ending, it exacerbates all those issues. Like, I felt like my time was genuinely wasted. And this is an 11-minute and an episode cartoon. I felt like my time was wasted. I felt like it didn't need to exist. They should have just ended it with the movie. And my opinion on the series would have been a lot better. Because while I will say that I like Steven Universe, I don't think it's good. It's the same way I feel about Naruto. I like Naruto, but it's not good. And that's how I feel currently about Steven Universe. And it's not because I don't think Naruto started out good. Naruto, Steven Universe, started out great, started out amazing. It's just, by the time you get to the end of it, they ruined everything you liked about the show. And it's obvious that they didn't know, the writers or whoever is writing didn't know how to basically, complete it. Let's say that. So with the Steven Universe future rant out of the way, let's talk about some recent purchases. Obviously, I bought Final Fantasy VII Remake and Animal Crossing, but I also bought these because I need to walk, I need to get healthier, I need to do something to better myself during this epidemic we're in. And I tried, this year was the year I was supposed to get my stuff together, and then that ruined it, and it ruined my mood. And I've realized like walking actually helps kind of get my mind off things, and it takes me away from this space that's kind of making me feel more claustrophobic. But I bought the Soundpeats True Wireless True Shift 2 truly wireless earbuds. I said truly wireless like 5 times there. I said true like 6 or something. But these are pretty good. I'm gonna say this, like, your boy is kind of an audiophile, if you didn't know, a little bit. I'm more on the budget side of audio, but still, like, I try to get what I can. And while I love my IEMs and I love, some good earbuds that are quality, I needed something that I could basically not worry about sweat getting on them, and damaging them, or just be a lot more comfortable instead of having that wire go down in my pocket and stuff while I'm walking. And that's where these come in. I think these are a great option for that. And because I feel like these are a great option, I feel like if you're looking for some truly wireless earbuds under $50, you should get that. They have some really good bass response, and they are surprisingly clear in the mids and the highs, which I feel like a lot of Bluetooth headphones fell on. The biggest thing about these, though, is that the case acts as not just the charging case for these, and if I can get it open, it's kind of hard to open this little flap here because it's also the case and the earbuds are IPX7 waterproof, I think, or water resistant, something like that. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to open this up. This is so hard. If you hear the that's what that is. That's me trying to open it. My finger. I just recently cut my fingernail, so this is really, really, really hard to do. But if I can get it like this with both of my fingers and up under here, and nope. Let's see. Well, basically, it's reverse chargeable. You can charge something else. I can't get it open right now. I can't get my fingernails up under there because it just keeps, like, I'll pull it up and then, like, it'll slip from under my fingernail, or what's left of my fingernail. And I just think for what they are pretty good, and I'd recommend them to anybody. They don't support aptX or LDAC. They have pretty good latency, so if you just want to use these to watch content and stuff or play games on your phone, they're pretty good for that. Or even on your PC. I was using it on my PC earlier, and it was pretty good. The latency, like, I was watching videos and stuff, watching content, it was pretty good. But why they don't support any high-end codecs or high bit rate or high bit depth codecs or anything like that? They're still pretty good. I'd listen to my KZ ZS10 Pros any day over these, but like when it comes to pure comfort and the ability to use these while you're active, I'd recommend these any day of the week. I also bought Doom 2016 because I wanted to get Doom Eternal later down the line on Switch. So I bought Doom 2016 on PC. The game is immaculate, by the way. Really good. And while I don't care for like the soundtracks of Doom at a personal listening level, I think they thematically match up with what I imagine Doom music should be, and it's pretty good. I've heard Doom Eternal soundtrack sounds really good in that regard. It's not the music for me, but I think the music itself is good. And I just been playing that. So let's move on to what I've been playing. Y'all obviously know Final Fantasy VII Remake. And for a little bit, I was actually playing a lot of Minecraft. I've been playing Minecraft recently with people I know IRL. I was playing it a little bit with people online and stuff. Minecraft's such a good game, bro. Minecraft, I think, is probably one of the greatest games ever created. I mean, it was the defining game of last decade. Like, no game defined last decade more than Minecraft, and that says something. So I'm really glad we got I'm really glad I've been playing that a lot. Of course, New Horizons been a great experience. I told y'all that earlier. Doom 2016, again, amazing game. If you haven't played that, I think you guys need to pick that up. Like, Doom 2016 has probably become one of my favorite shooters of all time. Well, it's not my favorite, it's become one of my favorite of all time. Like, I remember when I was younger, I'd play like the first few Dooms or whatever on my computer, because that's all it could really run, and I could get away with downloading on my super duper slow connection, even slower than I have now. So there's that. And then I've been playing GTA Online also, and I gotta say this about GTA. As much flack as I give GTA, specifically 5 and 4 and online, GTA Online is genuinely a great experience, despite how much of the microtransactions they push, down your throat and they try to push you into them. It's still a great online experience, because you, in theory, don't have to do them, and they provide you a lot of options to get a lot of money. So I don't ever feel like super pressured to do them. And the really expensive stuff, I never feel like I need it. You know what I mean? Like, there are guys in that game who have like flying bikes and DeLoreans and stuff. That's fine, but I don't ever feel like I need it to play the game and have fun, basically. That wraps up this episode. I was thinking it was going to be about 30 minutes. And it's about 30 minutes. I mean, you guys see I'm using 2 pop filters, and that's because this Yeti is not rejecting plosives. I don't know what it is. Like, it's been lately, I guess I've been like, my P's and my B's have been like super plosive-y, if that makes any type of sense. But yeah, I've been worried about that. I'm gonna be upgrading to probably a Behringer UMC2 and getting the Behringer Beta 85A. That's what I'm looking into getting to upgrade my mic quality, or so I can upgrade it down the line. Just being in this room and being in this house, there's so many noise going on. Like, I have to really edit out my fan noise from my laptop, which affects the overall quality of the sound. And while I think it sounds good, still, it's not what I want, and I know I can do better. So I need to switch over to a dynamic mic, and then probably stay with dynamic mics for a while. But tell me what you guys thought about everything I said in this video, in this episode of the podcast. Tell me if you like the new format. I'm doing more visual stuff now with it, so you guys will have more visual stimulus. And just remember, Hot Ferrari turns to Cold Blizzaga. Links to everything will be down in the description. We're out of here. Peace. Kiss.